Hey there, this is Battleground, and I'm John Cardillo, sitting in for Ezra Levant. Now, if you don't know the rules of Battleground, it's really simple, and it's a lot of fun. We can talk about any topic you want. I'm going to start today with Trump and Kim's North Korea summit, but we can really discuss anything you'd like to discuss. All you got to do is send me a message. I'm reading your messages in real time, and we will get right into it. And remember, there's a donate button. If you donate, your message is going to pop. It's going to stand out to me. It's going to go to the top of the line. The topic you want to talk about is going to be the topic we talk about. Power 20841. Yes, you are first. And Giorgio, you are second. Adam is third. And Julius is fourth. Let's see who comes in the top five. We're still waiting on you guys. All right. So I am personally the left and the right. Alan made it into the top five. So we've got Power, Giorgio, Adam, Julius, and Alan all in the top five. Now, personally, big fan of what happened in North Korea, in Singapore, with regards to this North Korea summit. And I'm a big fan for a lot of reasons. Now, nobody here is deluded. We're going to talk quite a bit about Tommy Robinson, and we will talk about the Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade suicides a bit. Ezra's out today. I'm sitting in for him. But in North Korea, I'm a big fan. I'll tell you why. Look, the agreement right now is vanilla. We don't know what's going to happen. But the intelligence value of getting Kim Jong-un out of North Korea was tremendous, because you can bet your bottom dollar, our military, our intelligence community, the CIA, the NSA, they had people in the crowd. They had people embedded with the Trump campaign watching everything Kim did, his advisors did, his security people did. That alone, if nothing comes from this agreement, that alone was worth it. Let's talk about what I think of Tommy Robinson's arrest. I think it is reprehensible. I think it is disgraceful. And it's something that would never happen here in the United States. And I'm going to do all I can, going to use my voice as loudly as possible to make sure this story stays top of mind. Tommy did a great job profiling these Muslim rape gangs. Tommy, by everything I'm looking at, as a former law enforcement guy now, I was law enforcement in the U.S., not in the U.K., but I read the statute. I read the conditions of his prior issue with the court. It appears that he adhered to everything he was supposed to adhere to, and this was political retribution. If you know me, if you follow my brand, I don't use the words politically persecuted lightly or easily, but yes, I feel Tommy Robinson is being politically persecuted. We will, yes, Lucia, Libertaria, Trudeau's fake eyebrows do need to be addressed. A lot of things about Justin Trudeau need to be addressed, but those eyebrows were something else. And Garth is exactly right. It was huge that Kim and his inner circle were so available publicly. On my other show here on The Rebel, Off the Cuff Declassified, which will air later today, I spoke with former CIA Station Chief Scott Eulinger, a good friend. He's a frequent guest. And we went very deep into why it was such a win, if we get nothing out of the summit, why it was such a win just to get Kim out of North Korea so our intelligence people could be able to see how he and his team operate. That alone was well worth it. We got so much out of that alone. Now, the people are asking me what I think about the Islamification of the UK and the EU. I think it's horrible. We're seeing it manifest here in the United States. We're seeing candidates in Minnesota for U.S. Congress who Minnesota's Little Mogadishu, the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, heavy Somalian population, a lot of Al-Shabaab. If you don't know, Al-Shabaab, violent terror group affiliated with Al-Qaeda. A lot of Al-Shabaab sympathetic Somalians there. He's openly hostile towards Israel, towards Jewish people. This woman is running for U.S. Congress, and we're seeing that, unfortunately, here in the United States. Somebody asked me, the Mastery Gaming, do you think the U.S. should try and implement restrictions against the U.K. for their agenda that hates free speech? No. The people of the UK have to rise up and rebel. The United States can't impose sanctions because the UK's constitution looks a little bit different than ours, or the UK's handling of free speech issues is different than ours. Sanctions and restrictions are a bit much because, in a broader sense, the UK is a good ally. They are entitled as a sovereign nation to set their own laws and rules. It's really up to the people of the UK to vote out those who do things like jail journalists for reporting on gangs of Muslim pedophiles who rape little kids. I think that's up to the people of the UK. How can Sadiq Khan stay mayor of London while he was clearly supporting Islamic extremists, asked Julius Monstar. Again, ask the people of London. I often ask myself, as a New Yorker transplanted to South Florida, how does Bill de Blasio, the mayor of New York, when he clearly hates the police, law and order, and the residents of that city? They keep electing the guy. I don't know. Trudeau's Mr. Dress-Up fetish needs to be addressed. I try to pay as little attention as possible to Justin Trudeau. Unfortunately, the G7 summit has him in my face 24/7. I saw him wearing the Indian garb and doing that silly dance, etc. It was really, somebody said, Ilian, we love your work. Thank you very much. I love you guys. You guys are great. That's why I do this. The audience response is what makes the show. Terry says, you're an Islamic extremist using an American name. Go home. You're not welcome in the U.S. Look. I've dealt with people that are Muslim, okay? And some of people who are moderate Muslims to me aren't really Muslims, right? I have friends who are in the military who are Muslim. They fought very, very courageously for this nation. Very, very patriotic people. They're disgusted with the extremists, but by the same token, they're also not the most adherent Muslims. If you recall, an NYPD sergeant who was Muslim essentially got a bomb out of a densely populated area of New York City. He saved many, many lives. So I don't want to say that if you're Muslim and you were born here and you have it, because we have had plenty of people of the Muslim faith that have done great things for the United States. It's the extremists I don't trust. The extremists I don't trust. Every business, Kem Radovich says, every business that goes progressive loses tons of money. Why do they keep trying? Isn't it self-destroying? It's a great question, and here's what I think. I think it's because these businesses don't know any better. They go to their advertising agencies, their corporate communications firms, the crisis firms that are institutionally left, people who go into the creative arts, the advertising arts, the graphic arts, media and broadcast arts, right? People like us here at The Rebel, we're a rarity in this world, being conservative, okay? But I think that when they go to these people, those companies, those firms are so institutionally left that they advise them to default on the side of what appears to be political correctness, but really offends half of their consumer base, which is really, really stupid. Sometimes it's better to do nothing. What do I think the best way is to get Hamas out of Gaza? Lots of bullets, lots of rockets, and lots of airstrikes. The only way to stop terror is to kill every last terrorist. It really is that simple. You have to be more brutal than the brutal terrorists. And unfortunately, that's the answer. That's the only answer. Let's see what else we've got here. Too bad too few moderate Muslims are out there to fix Islam. Well, that's true. But I'll tell you this. When you think about the sheer numbers, I don't know if it'd matter. There's conservatively, and that was from Julius again, 1.7 billion Muslims worldwide. Let's be uber conservative here, okay? Super conservative. If only 0.5% were radical enough to either support terror or weaponize, that'd still be around, 8.5 million Muslims. The standing United States military, including all law enforcement, if you combine law enforcement and the military in the United States, only about 3 million. So even if 0.5% of the world's Islamic community was radicalized, they would still number about 3 times that of every U.S. service person and law enforcement officer. It's a very, very scary prospect. A very, very scary prospect. What do I think about Rachel Maddow, asks Charles Klempner. I try not to. I don't. I think Maddow is unhinged. I think Maddow is terribly, terribly wrong on every one of her points. But you got to hand it to her. She's successful because she plays to her audience. Rachel Maddow knows exactly who her audience is, and she plays to them beautifully. She plays to them beautifully. And so that's what I think. Look, I think that's the case with many in the liberal media. Remember, the vote in the United States was split. You had 60-some-odd million people voting for Donald Trump, 60-some-odd million people voting for Hillary Clinton. There's a tremendous audience. Charles, I'm going to get to the Inspector General report in a moment and tell you what I think about that. But there is a tremendous audience on both sides. One of the highest viewerships ever on cable news, maybe the highest, happened outside of debates. Fox News saw about 26 million viewers for the presidential debates. But Sean Hannity's show, the night of the Trump-Kim summit, when he got the first interview with Trump, saw 5.5-ish million viewers or something in that neighborhood, 5.2, 5.3, 5.5. That's really, really high, okay? But remember, 63 million people voted for Trump, meaning that 8 million people didn't watch Hannity that night. So too for CNN and Rachel Maddow. There's a tremendous, tremendous audience. So while I disagree with everything Maddow or CNN says, I understand from a monetary perspective why they do it. Now, their viewership is declining. Maddow's is doing okay. CNN's is declining because Maddow at least presents herself as hard news. CNN presents itself as, Maddow doesn't present herself, as hard news. She presents herself as an opinion commentator, a far left opinion commentator. CNN presents itself as hard news. And I think that's where CNN falls down. Let's see. 1.3 billion Muslims. Oh, Pastor Phil, I think it's closer to 1.7 billion. 1.7 billion Muslims. Yeah. So somebody asked me about the IG report. Charles asked me about the IG report. I don't have high hopes for it. My sources in D.C. And what I've seen, what I've analyzed, seem to indicate that Jeff Sessions, U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, and Rod Rosenstein want this all to go away. I think they want this all to go away very, very quietly. I predict the IG report is going to be disappointing to many conservatives. I think it's going to be a lot of James Comey was wrong. He should have been fired. Andrew McCabe's a bad guy. We might see him charged. Everybody else probably gets a walk. A few dings for Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, those texting lovers having an affair. But I'm more concerned with other things. I'm more concerned with the fact that Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein won't allow Special Agent Joe Pientka, the other agent alongside Peter Strzok, to interview General Flynn to testify to the Senate Judiciary Committee. I'm very concerned that the DOJ, Department of Justice, under Rod Rosenstein's direction, is refusing to submit relevant documents to the House of Representatives Intelligence Committee. And so I don't have a lot of faith in the Department of Justice right now. I don't have a lot of faith in the Department of Justice. What do I think of Colbert leaving the 275 dairy tariff sentence out of his daily rant when quoting a Trump tweet? I think it was typical Stephen Colbert. I think it's typical left. They love to frame, and that was from Lauren Southern, they love to frame the narrative to suit their agenda. We have many people on our street who own guns. Americans are and will not be intimidated by Islamists. Well, you should own a gun. You shouldn't be intimidated by anybody. Will McCabe flip on Comey, Charles asks. I think they're both going to flip on each other. We're starting to see it happen. McCabe is claiming that Comey approved him to speak to the media. Comey saying he didn't. So that battle's already beginning. I think we're going to see that one play out for a little while. Julius asked me, do I believe if the talks in Singapore break down, it would finally start the conflict in the Korean Peninsula? If so, are you optimistic or the opposite? No, I think it would remain status quo. We'd be back to a lot of saber rattling. But I think a part of Kim really, really wants to be westernized. Do I think that Kim Jong-un is going to do the things he promises and stick to it? No. I think the guy is an erratic, homicidal actor. Do I think he's afraid that Donald Trump will call him to task if he doesn't? Yes. And so if we get 50, 60% compliance out of Kim, we're doing okay. We're doing pretty good at that point. I'm from London and live there. What can me and my fellow Brits do? How bad do you think it could turn out? Could this plague of invasion spread, Mr. Drew Hunter asked. You got to vote. You got to get involved and get out the vote efforts, Drew. We have it here in the U.S. That's how we took back the White House, because Hillary Clinton was really the heir apparent. Everybody thought Hillary Clinton was going to be the next president of the United States. The media was weaponized for her. The pollsters were weaponized for her. We now know the DOJ and the FBI and the CIA under John Brennan were weaponizing on her behalf. The people made the difference. The American electorate. And it wasn't the big money PACs. It wasn't the big money committees. It was the grassroots. The grassroots. You and me and everybody else who got out there and voted. Do I think Trudeau should have stayed quiet when Trump left the G7? Andrew Bursack asks. Absolutely. I think it is beneath any leader to backstab someone when they leave a room. Trudeau could have said all those things to Trump's face. He could have called Trump and then released statements of the call. But to do what he did, I thought was very cowardly and very weak, but I don't expect much else from lispy Justin Trudeau. Charles, I already spoke about Tommy Robinson. I think what happened to Tommy was disgraceful, and we're going to do all we can to help him out. I think whenever a free press and free speech is suppressed, it is tragic. I think when it is suppressed because it appears the state, the government, is trying to protect the identities of pedophile rapists from these Muslim rape gangs, it becomes reprehensible reprehensible because you're putting now political correctness before public safety. The public safety of little kids. No excuse for it. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Pepper says Trudeau is a diplomatic bull in a china shop. He shouldn't open his mouth, period. I would say he's kind of a dopey little calf more than he is a bull. But point made. What if we get silenced for like Tommy Robinson for our views? You got to keep fighting. You got to keep fighting. Remember, the United States exists because we kept fighting against British oppression. And so, looking at it from my perspective, it's the only way. We fought against the Democrats here. We fought against the IRS targeting conservatives. We fought against their fairness doctrine, and we're winning. We're winning. And Terry Gadori says, at this point, talk will not work. You need to form mobs like they do, the left. Show up at prayer meetings on the streets. The answer is to demand in large groups. It's true. It's true. Protest works. I'm not saying to go out there and be violent and do silly things, but there is strength in numbers, and when the politicians see that voting blocks are against what they're doing, they tend to change their tone. What do I think about Julian Assange? I'm torn on Julian Assange. I don't know if Julian Assange is a friend of the U.S. I know many people on the far right, the alt-right, think he's this folk hero. I'm not so sure. I don't know where his agenda lies. I don't think he should be pardoned. Do I think he'll be freed anytime soon? I really don't know. Because he's made many enemies around the world. He's made many friends around the world. I'm still torn on the guy. I don't have an opinion. I think he's done some good things. I think he's done some very bad things. Eugene says, I have a friend that is the reserves. They say they are relieving trains to run internment camps and not being told. No, that is a ridiculously insane conspiracy theory. These things have been going around. There are no FEMA internment camps. If your friend is in the reserves and telling you that, they are lying to you. This has been going on for years. The same dumb photos circulate on the internet. They turn out to be deliveries of trucks from 15 years ago. Don't buy into this conspiracy theory nonsense. Nothing like that. Nothing like that is happening. Nothing. Who am I sleeping with to get my stories? Wouldn't you like to? Wouldn't you like to know? That's a great question, Turbo Jones. Actually, pretty funny. Sadly, nobody. I have to do all of this work on my own because I don't work for the New York Times. I actually have to do the research. Trump was making deals while Trudeau was still swimming in Castro. Well, I'm not going to repeat that, but I get the point. Okay. Whenever free speech and discussion is suppressed, it's tragic. Well, it's true. Does this apply to when people who tried to research the truth about the so-called Holocaust? Frank Lucas writes that, Frank, you are a moron if you're a Holocaust denier. Yes, a moron. Anybody who believes in Holocaust denial, conspiracy theory, and Zionist dominance, and all of these other moronic conspiracy theories, really, I have nothing to say, and we'd probably be better off if you guys just didn't message us, because that kind of stuff is just really dumb. Really, really dumb. After watching the UN speech that Trump gave, I stood with joy. He seems to fight against the globalists. Do you think this is true? Absolutely. Look, remember something. Remember what the agenda of the globalists truly is, right? The reason that the globalists, and that means Democrats on the left, progressive, that means guys like John McCain and neocons on the right, why they really, really hate Trump. And if I can impart one bit of wisdom to you today, why they really hate Trump is that there is nothing more the globalists hate than prosperity and security. Think about why. Because if a nation and its people are prosperous and the world is safe, you don't need government to feed you, to clothe you, to house you, or to protect you. Your individual liberties become more important. Government becomes smaller, poorer, and less powerful. The people and their individual liberties become greater, richer, and more powerful. And big government can't have that, can they? So they like to keep their wars going, and they like to keep the nations poor so that government is needed and government can control you. And that's why they despise Trump. So yes, I do believe that Trump is destroying globalism, and that's why they're so hysterical. And Lauren, yes, I read it. So, joke's on me. Let's see what else we've got. Trump is beholden to no one. Yeah, I tend to believe that, Andrew. True stories are always the best. More journalists should try it. Marion Gran Bruheim. Marion, couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. So, do you think the start of this was 9/11. Do you think the start of all this 9/11 was Russian money? No. I think 9/11 was the byproduct of Al-Qaeda and radical Muslims hating us. Remember, they attacked New York City, the finance capital of the world. They attacked the World Trade Center, which had more financial firms in it at that time than any other building in New York City, finance capital of the world. This was designed to cripple the financial markets, and they really want the world to live in the Stone Age, the radical Muslims, like they live. This was all designed to strike at the very literal heart of capitalism. The literal heart of capitalism. Let's see. Yep, Tammy's here. Sorry I'm late. Was expecting noon start time. Tammy had to move the show a little earlier. I'm down here in South Florida. That's why we started early, guys. Terrible, terrible weather lately, and they've got to cut a bunch of trees back that have fallen and overgrown. So we had to start earlier because where I am, all the web is going down for a few hours, starting at right around 12:30. So wanted to make sure we got a full show in for you guys. Needed to start it a little bit early. Sorry about that. We're going to be at the regular time, 12 p.m. going forward with Ezra and whenever I sit in for. Today was just that rare incident where we had to start a bit early. Eugene Johnston asks, do I feel there will be any justice brought to the Clinton Podestas? Will the supposed damning evidence on Wiener laptop be released? Okay, no, I don't. And let's correct some fake stories on that laptop. I know there was a website out there, True Pundit, that wrote the story about the NYPD and the FBI in a war because of covering for pedophiles. That's not true. There was damning evidence on Wiener's laptop. The FBI and NYPD worked together. You got to understand, the NYPD was in possession of the laptop. When NYPD computer crimes saw this evidence, they knew that they had to give it to the FBI. But there's a premise called chain of custody. So the NYPD and the FBI together went to a federal judge, explained the situation, and asked the federal judge to order the NYPD to give the laptop to the FBI. That way the chain of custody wouldn't be tainted, which they did. That website made up a bunch of conspiracy theories. It was stupid, and I really, really was upset that people listened. I have friends who work in that unit at NYPD. They thought it was so ridiculous. They were really, really disturbed by that story. Now, the problem in all that is after the laptop was turned over to the FBI, Andrew McCabe waited 6 weeks to notify anybody. So if you want to look at the real problem surrounding Wiener's laptop, that's it. Andrew McCabe. I often say on my show, it always comes back to Andrew McCabe. Always comes back to Andrew McCabe. Richard says, John, I do quite enjoy your shows. Maybe you should be running for office, sir. Richard, thank you. I don't want to run for office. I often work with politicians. I consult with them on their messaging. It's just not something I'm interested in. I really enjoy doing what I do, being able to be a voice. If I were in office, if I ran for office, I wouldn't be able to be as vocal as I am. But thank you very, very much for the compliment. Frank is saying, who said I was a Holocaust denier? I just wanted to know if you thought it was as tragic when discussion is shut down surrounding Jewish power and our founding myths about World War II. No, because I don't want people to listen to dumb conspiracy theories. So I think when we censor those out of comments on this show, or we censor these things out of blogs or websites or news, that's good editorial direction. That's good editing. There is no room for dumb, baseless, useless, fake news. And that's my answer. American paid the Mujahideen to fight the Russians, aka the Taliban that funded that war. Yeah, times change. Sure we did. Times changed, then they attacked us. We went and killed them. That's the nature of warfare. Your enemy today is your friend tomorrow, and vice versa. Do I think the Swedish approach to the Islamic migrant population discord is a joke? No. I think it's a tragedy. I think it's a tragedy for the Swedish people. It is what Sweden, the risk Sweden is putting their young women especially in is absolutely tragic and irresponsible. Andrew asks, do I think the swamp will protect McCabe? Nah, he might be the one guy they throw under the bus, quite honestly, to protect everybody else. Because there's pretty overwhelming evidence against McCabe. It's cut and dry. The OIG and Congress both criminally referred him to DOJ. I think he becomes the sacred, the sacrificial lamb, Andrew McCabe, so that everybody else can walk. How about executive order to return the 14th Amendment to its original intent, no birthright citizenship, intended for children of slaves only? There's a lot of debate on that one at the Supreme Court. And I think we need to leave our Bill of Rights exactly the way it is. It's been working very, very well for us. Lauren Southern says they believe in absolute free speech. Stupid ideas should be out in the open where they can be challenged, not if they're legitimized. Stupid ideas are much different than fake news. A stupid idea is, let's build a sailboat on top of the Empire State Building. And we can have engineers on a website explain why that's a really bad idea that could kill thousands of people. Denying the Holocaust is fake news. That really doesn't have a place in the discourse. Saying that 9/11 was an inside job by the Bush administration is fake news. Saying Sandy Hook tragedy, the shooting, was an inside job and a false flag is fake news and disgraceful to the families. So no, I disagree. I think stupid ideas, great, let's debate them. They're fun. Let's debate stupid ideas all day. Like putting a ski jump ramp off a cruise ship while the ship is doing 30 knots and people are falling into the ocean. That's a dumb idea. Let's debate that. But fake news, horrible ideas that disrespect victims and revise history with falsehoods, no, I don't believe they should be out in the open. I don't think that's a free speech issue. I think that's an editorial decision issue and a good one. That's what I believe. Any thoughts on the Federal Reserve meeting today? You know, I'm so torn on the Fed. I'm not a fan of the Fed, but we need the money to go somewhere. So I'd like to see proposals to replace the Fed. I think it's too arbitrary. But the short answer is no. No, no, no. Have I seen the recent rash of destruction of veterans memorials? Tom Nunya asks, what do I think the cause is? I think the cause is the progressive far left that hates America. I think the cause is groups like Antifa. I think the cause are people like Barack Obama, quite frankly, and Nancy Pelosi, and Keith Ellison, and Tom Perez, and those who run the Democratic National Committee. The Democratic Party is simply unpatriotic at this point. Who would I leak to? Turbo Jones asks. Harris Faulkner or Erin Burnett? Probably Catherine Herridge. I like her reporting much better on intelligence and national security issues. I have to go with Catherine Herridge. I would do that. Oh, I know how you're asking me. No, I'm not going to answer that question because I work in media. I know a lot. Haha, I see where you're going. Do I think there will ever be high-level arrests like Hillary Clinton? Allie Clark asked. Nope, I do not. I do not. The SAS was ordered to fire on people if they breached Downing Street gates in the Tommy Robinson Mall. Haven't seen any confirmation on that. Have not seen any confirmation on that. Hello, John, fellow New York, from a fellow New Yorker from Astoria in Sweden. Well, I grew up in Queens myself. Entry required. I'm a Queens guy also, man. So how are you? I'm hoping you're a guy, not a woman. If you are, how are you? And I hope Sweden is treating you well. Let's see. Vietnam was a war to fight communism. That's why Vietnam, we made a lot of mistakes there as well. You're not going to see me defend the Vietnam War much. You're just not going to see me do that. Jane Douglas asks, what do I think of Sadiq Khan destroying London? I think Sadiq Khan is the Bill de Blasio of England. I don't think far-left politicians can do an effective job anywhere. Look at Baltimore. Baltimore, here in the U.S., decades of institutional Democrat far-left rule and governance in Baltimore. Baltimore has the same amount of murders as New York City, with a population 15 times less. Ergo, Baltimore's murder rate is 15 times that of New York. So I kind of see a guy like Sadiq Khan in the same light. Why people, Ilian says people think the U.S. is making frogs gay and spraying us with hormones. I have not heard about this epidemic of gay frogs, but I'm definitely going to have to look into that. I'm not so sure that's true, though. Everyone from the left should be locked in the same town as Muslims for a year and see how progressive they are after that. I think a theoretical solution like that theoretically makes a lot of sense, but in reality, it's the U.S. We don't lock people up for having bad ideas or silly positions. London has fallen. I tend to agree. You know, it's interesting, though. My friends over in the UK all tell me, much like we ask people not to think Baltimore, Chicago, Detroit are representative of the United States, they say, please don't think London is representative of the UK. So I'm going to respect what they tell me because I trust these people. I trust these people very much. Frank Lucas is on his censorship tip. Listen, I don't want it to be illegal for people to spew fake news. But I am not going to sit here and say we shouldn't edit out fake news. That's the significant difference. So do I think what the UK criminalizes is right? No, I don't. I don't want to see it criminalized in the US, but I don't think it has any place in the discourse. It's a waste of time. Alien rape says he wants to see the London mayor renamed to Sadiq Kant. Good one. Tend to agree. There won't be any freedom of speech in the U.S. until Tommy Robinson is released. Pepper 52435. Well, I don't even think that's going to do it. I think Tommy should be released because it's the right thing. I don't think that's going to revolutionize the concept of free speech and non-political correctness in the UK. Israelis are said to be helping train white farmers in South Africa to defend themselves. I hope that former special operators and current special operators from all countries are helping those white farmers defend themselves. I really, really do. Julius is telling me that I missed 2 of their questions. Got a lot to get to, Julius, but repost them. I'll see if I can get to them for you. Lauren, John, gay frogs are a running Alex Jones joke. Yeah, I don't really watch Alex Jones. Ever since he was a 9/11 conspiracy theorist and a Sandy Hook conspiracy theorist, I know a lot of people on the right like him. I don't give Alex Jones the time of day. I just don't do it. Sorry. And I get it. I get he's got a big audience. His site has done some good things, but he lost me with those 2 ridiculous lines. Yes. Hormones in the water. Awesome. Oh, Bronx Science grad. 2 of my closest friends that I'm still in touch with. Entry required as a Bronx Science grad. 2 of my really close friends went to Bronx Science. Guys I grew up with, guys I still talk to all the time. Great school, actually. You must be kind of smart. Somebody asked me if I think Canada is going to suffer economically. No, I don't, because I think this is a lot of saber rattling between Trump and Trudeau. At the end of the day, Canada and the U.S. are very good friends. We get along very well. We have a very strong NORAD partnership, North American Air Defense Command, and I think that we need keep that alliance as rock solid as it is. Canada's probably our closest ally on the planet. This Trudeau thing is a temporary hiccup, and Canada's far more important to us than this momentary speed bump. Den Loverin, 19 Arabs did not do 9/11. No, 19 radical Muslims did, but I agree with you that it was many more than 19. We know that a lot of planning went into it behind the scene. But if you're going to start throwing out moronic conspiracy theories that it was the Bush administration or Israelis, save them. I don't entertain them. Let's see what else we've got. Oh, I like this one. Turbo Jones. Is the bathing suit contest demeaning or an accurate feminine quality? He's talking about the beauty pageants. I think it's Miss Universe or Miss America, one of them, doing away with the swimsuit competition. I think that is the end of the pageant. Let's face it. I don't watch pageants, right? I'm a guy. But people watch pageants for the glamour of it. And nobody what are we going to do? Have a bunch of Hillary Clintons in pantsuits running around taking IQ tests? Not why people watch pageants, all right? Let's get it together here. You know what I mean? It's just... It is what it is. NV Jeanette says tariffs equal taxes. Yep. They certainly do. Let's see. America should give Tommy his own TV show. Well, Tommy is over in the UK, but Tommy's a talented guy. I'm sure he's going to land on his feet. The guy that runs the light show at the Hayden Planetarium is also a Bronx Science alum, O'Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's also a far leftist. Smart guy, but a far leftist. Julius says, I am a millennial, but I was born in Inuit, so I'm conservative. I greatly oppose the liberal millennials. How do we change their views so that we know the truth? They know the truth. Julius, outstanding question. And it may be one of the most important questions, one of the top 3 on my radar. Seriously. Because that's going to be the most important voting block, yours, for decades to come. And I think we really need to do better culturally. With content. The right needs to be as cool as the left. That's how we do it. Great question. Okay, Muhammad was a pedophile. And Muhammad, thanks for the donation. Do you think there's a correlation between Muhammad marrying Aisha at 6, consummating the marriage at 9, and Muslim grooming gangs seeking out underage girls? Yes. I think if you're severely adherent to the Quran, I also think that's why in Afghanistan we have the phenomenon with the T-boys, where Muslim men rape little boys. Absolutely, yes. I think if you're so adherent to a doctrine that you would kill for that doctrine, well, then the doctrine says it's okay to have sex with little kids. So that is one of the reasons I really have a big problem with it. John Zealand asks, John, do you think Trump would go after the auto industry if push came to shove? I think you mean the German auto industry, tariffs on Mercedes and BMW? Yeah, I do. Do I think it would matter now? But do I think he would do that to make a point? I do. Do I think it would ever be put into place, come to fruition? No, because I think Germany then would get too much pressure from big companies like Mercedes and BMW. Remember, and all the companies there that make the components who build Mercedes and BMWs, they would get too much blowback, the government would, and they would, things would solve itself. Let's see. Let's see what else we got here. Am I aware that after the boomers die off, the white population falls to around 44% in America? Don't think that's true. I was looking at the numbers, and that's not entirely true. It's going to still hover around 55, 60% with the latest census data I've seen. Pepper's been banned by every liberal media outlet out there and is flattered. And I don't blame you. I unfortunately can't go as far as to be banned because I've been living. Bad allergies today. I'm rubbing my. Okay, since tensions are getting more hellish, Julius asks, do I think at this point it will fix the Islamic troubles in the EU? No, because I think you still have very liberal governance over it. A Turbo says, fun show, thanks. Well, Turbo, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Yeah, this is a lot of fun. I love doing live content, interactive content like this. I think personally, to me, this is the best format in media. That's why I love doing radio. I come out of radio. I love doing radio for this reason. 9/11 didn't just come out of nowhere. The military was running special ops against radicals in the 80s, and there was the first attack on the World Trade Center in 93. Has nothing to do with, please don't buy into these conspiracy theories. Please, please, please. I investigated. I was on the scene of, I was a young cop, on the scene of the first World Trade Center bombing in 93. It was the blind Sheikh Abdel Rahman. That's who was behind that. It was not a U.S. government conspiracy. That's who was behind it. That's who was behind it. If I'm calling Alex Jones and InfoWars fake news, I am not woke. My portion of Rebel is off my list. I'm not calling them fake news. I think that Alex Jones did a disgraceful thing, denying 9/11, where I had friends killed, and the Sandy Hook massacre, where little kids were killed. I know troopers that went into that building. It was not a fake event. They were not crisis actors. Little kids died. And quite frankly, I think it was reprehensible of Alex Jones. He has some very good people working for him over there at InfoWars. But I personally don't watch Alex Jones. And if you then won't watch other people because they disagree, you're no better than the left. Censorship. So I'm a 15-year-old girl and I'm a conservative. Do I have any advice on how I can make sure I'm getting all of the information I want while I'm managing work and homework during the school year? Yeah. Stay informed, Rachel. Stay informed. There are great organizations out there here in the U.S., like Turning Point USA, that are they're growing on college campuses. They have great resources. That you've got young Republicans, you've got college Republicans, you've got many great conservative resources for students. You're 15, you're going to be in college in a couple of years. I encourage you to check all of these organizations out. They are top notch. I really have had a very, very solid experience working with all of them. Let's see what else we've got. Okay. Do I think the idea of you let me protect and preserve my culture and I do the same to you is a great idea? Well, Julius, it depends if their culture is destroying ours. Ezra's show has more content and less time for comments, but John answers so many comments that it makes it a really fun show. Well, thanks, Lauren. You know, hey, everybody's got a different style. Ezra's a storehouse of knowledge. I like engaging with you guys because you can always catch my other show here on the Rebel, Off the Cuff Declassified, where it's all content. It's recorded, so it's not interactive. But when I get a chance to run this interactive format with you guys, I really, really love it. John, I've heard you on the radio. Which radio programs are on in NYC? I was on in South Florida. Oh, Primple08 asks, any recent news on the Scott Israel situation? Of course, they mean the Broward County Sheriff who handled the Parkland shooting abysmally. Yes. What I'm hearing from my sources up in Tallahassee, Florida State Capitol, is that the governor does want to remove Scott Israel. They're waiting for the final report from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, which is said to be damning to Israel. There's also another commission convened by many sheriffs, run by the sheriff of Pinellas County, Florida, up near Tampa. They're also, I'm being told, coming down with a finding that's against Scott Israel. At that point, the process will be the governor will suspend him. The state Senate will come back into a special session and impeach him, vote to formally remove him. And that's the most recent news. And the sources that gave that to me, well, they're in the know. They're in the know, and it's becoming pretty common knowledge. You've even got state senators here in Florida expecting to have to go back. They're in recess right now, expecting to have to go back to Tallahassee for that special session. to remove Scott Israel from office. And so I think that you can, I feel pretty comfortable reporting that to you. I feel pretty, did you hang Angela Merkel for crimes against humanity? No. I think you just should vote her out. Tammy says they hope the governor removes Scott Israel. Yeah, well, he will. The governor, the process, like I said, the governor can suspend, but it's the state Senate has to do the formal firing, the formal removal of Israel, which I'm told by state senators they're preparing to do. They like I said, I won't give you their names, but I can tell you state senators have told me here in Florida that I know very well, they fully are prepared to be called for a special session to remove Israel in the next few months. Allie Clark. Allie, thank you for that donation. Very generous. Love the show. Love to see me live on the show. Well, thank you very much. Love that you watch. Love that you watch. Let's see. How badly would a civil war affect the big liberal cities in the UK and America? Look, we're never going to see this is from Jiminy Finn Cricket. We're never going to see a civil war again. All right. I believe we're in an ideological civil war. I call it Civil War 2.0. It's ideological. The left hates us. The left wants us to die. Ideologically, they want to silence us. But I don't think we'll ever see a shooting civil war again. I wouldn't worry too much about that. We mentioned Mark Coop asked about news on Tommy Robinson. No, only what you're seeing, but we're working very, 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 very closely with people who are trying to help Tommy. Pepper asks, what's the deal with Rosenstein and Sessions? Sessions seems to be covering for Rosenstein. He does, doesn't he? I have very little faith in general. Americans need an attorney general in whom they can have confidence. Right now, they do not have one. They do not have one. It's Jeff Sessions has done an abysmal job, and I think he's fallen down on the job. Americans need an attorney general that'll walk up to that podium and say, I know there's a lot of confusion here, but I'm in charge. Don't worry, justice will be done. Okay, and we don't have that. Adam says this, there are plans to make BMWs and Mercedes. How do I think the tariffs would affect them? I think you mean in the U.S. and Canada. Won't matter, though, because the bulk of the vehicle is made and the intellectual property and whatnot all still stem from Germany. Why didn't Miss America try one-piece only suits first with a covered head? Envy Jeanette. Yeah, these liberals over there. I wouldn't be surprised if that was discussed. Bill Boldock says, do I believe the Iran deal was a fraud by the Obama administration? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the Obama administration wanted to give concessions to Iran and did it under the guise of a tough deal that was anything but. I think they did it. It was anything. And many people feel that there'll be civil wars in Europe. I think that it's more likely for a civil war or civil unrest to break out in Europe than it is here in the United States at this. Rosenstein threatened Congress, Andrew says. Yeah, I believe he did. And I didn't like Jeff Sessions' tepid response because I believe the congressmen and women who said he did, threatening them with subpoenas and wiretaps if they dared challenge him. Julius, I didn't see your last question, so I can't read the continuation. 8 more Pakistani Muslims sentenced to 90 years between them today for another grooming gang in Oxford. Good. Should have been life for all of them. Should have been life for all of them. How about burkinis? I'm not a fan. I am not a burkini fan. Not a burkini fan. How was Al-Quds Day in New York? Andrea Hetherington asks. Well, I'm not familiar with Al-Quds Day in New York, but I assume pretty dreadful, I would think. Yeah. I was booted off Twitter for saying Merkel should hang. Am I wrong? Well, I don't listen. I'm a security-minded guy. I don't like threatening any world leader. So I'm not. Yeah, I don't condone that because if somebody said that about the president of the United States, I would probably want the Secret Service to be alerted. But I do think that the way you kill politicians by killing their careers at the ballot box. That's how we do it. That's how we do it now. That's the civilized way to do it and the much more effective way to do it. Because if they're not in office and they're just another private citizen, and who the hell cares what they're doing at that, right? Who cares what they're doing? What do I think of Trump? I love Trump. I think he's awesome, Joseph Dunbar asks. I think it is absolutely awesome. You know, the rape of kids goes to the very top. They're all pedophiles. They want it to be commonplace. Oh, those conspiracy theories aren't true. I worked sex crimes for years. I worked child sex crimes. Pedophiles come in all shapes and sizes, but there isn't this grand conspiracy at the top of government. And that's all. Don't believe that Pizzagate nonsense, please. Please. I don't believe it. What do I think of Trump hosting a Ramadan dinner, the iftar? He had to do it. There are still Muslims here in the United States. They're United States citizens. And Islam's still a religion. It's First Amendment protected. And it was the right thing for the President of the United States to do. Despite what many Americans feel, there are many Muslim Americans who live here and go about their lives and are productive and employers and law-abiding people. And they serve in our military and first responders, cops, firefighters. Had to do it. He had to do it. And, oh, Julius, I see what you're saying. No, I mean, I think, like I said, if protect and preserve my culture and you protect and preserve yours and we don't bother each other, well, that's great. But when we have Somali Muslims in Minnesota trying to bring al-Shabaab ideals into Minneapolis, St. Paul, then it becomes problematic. Do I think it should be illegal for Islamists to run for office in the U.S. if they have ties to CARE, Terry Gadori says. Not illegal. Not illegal, but I wish there was more media attention on just how bad CARE is. 250 Sabres is very impressed, John. I told John Brennan, former CIA director, to delete his Twitter account, Pure Gold. Thank you. I think John Brennan is a horrible, reprehensible human being, was the worst CIA director in history, and I wish he would just go away quietly. Like many other people, I'm not afraid of John. He doesn't impress me. He doesn't scare me. I could not care less what he thinks. Do I think Iranian people will kick out the Islamic leaders? Tony Nagy asks. Yeah, I do. I think now that we've got a strong president in the White House, and Trump said something very interesting during his press conference after the Singapore summit, he said Iran is very different than it was. He's right. The Iranian people are pro-West. The Iranian people are pro-West. And left to their own devices, they want the mullahs gone. And we need to do all we can to help them. We need to do all we can to help them. People are talking about a police whistleblower video. I'm not familiar with it. My thoughts on the new CIA director. The verdict's still out. I trust Mike Pompeo, our Secretary of State. I trust the president. I think Gina Haspel was tough on terror. I think she did what she had to do to survive in the agency for as long as she did. And so, I'm gonna wait and see. So far, I think she's doing a pretty good job. I'm hearing decent things from my sources in the agency. And so until I hear something different, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. Andrea asks, how do I feel about De Niro's desperate trash talking? Well, if you haven't seen the president's tweet, he called De Niro punchy and told him to wake up punchy. I think Robert De Niro is an irrelevant moron who went from doing great films to these B-movie comedies that flop at the box office. He's bitter, he's angry, he's irrelevant. And Donald Trump got the incredible last word. Turbo Jones, is it true that Jim Sciutto slept with John Brennan for the Flynn Russia transcripts? I don't know. It was pretty funny. No, I don't think so. I don't know. But it was Lauren says the Al-Quds March women were carrying wrapped up plastic baby dolls. I didn't see it. Any thoughts on that? I honestly didn't see it. I've been so focused on the G7 in North Korea that I did not see it. And unfortunately, as much fun as I'm having, I just got an email alert that my web is going down in 2 minutes. The Comcast gave us a little bit of an alert here that actually it came in 5 minutes ago. It was going down in 5 minutes. I just saw it. It's going down in 2 minutes. So I got time for one more question. And people keep asking about these Al-Quds protests. I didn't see them. I'm going to have to Google that. I'm going to have to search that and take a look. You guys have been absolutely awesome. Next time, Ezra will be back at the regular time. If I'm here, we'll be back at a regular time. Today was just a little bit of a different thing because of this. We've been having terrible weather in South Florida. It's rained for about 3 weeks straight. But for 2 or 3 days, the trees are overgrown. They're knocking down wires. And I live close to the water, so we have no underground lines here yet. And the weather really affects our internet or power. So apologize to you guys, but this has been great. I had so much fun last time, had even more fun today. Thank you guys so much. This was absolutely awesome. Can't wait to do this with you again. I'm John Cardillo, hosting Battleground for Ezra Levant.